Hi, this is Dr. Benfinio here along with Pete the Cat, Cookie Monster, and Darth Vader. If you are a student currently taking classes online, or like me, you are a reluctant parent of a student taking classes online due to the latest COVID-19 variant, this video will show you how to do so in Google Meet. I already have a ton of tutorials covering Zoom, and I decided to start covering Google Meet as well since that is what my daughter is currently using for kindergarten. Now, I'm not going to cover how to join a meeting in this video because that may vary depending on your school. For example, you might be using a learning management system like Canvas or Google Classroom where there is an integrated link you can click on, or you might get a link emailed to you. So check with your child's teacher if you are not sure how to join the meeting to begin with. This video will cover what to do once you are in the meeting. Now, in general, the first thing you should do for online meeting etiquette when you join a meeting is to make sure you are muted. While this wouldn't be the case for maybe smaller, more private or one-on-one meetings, when you are joining a class and there are going to be 20 or 30 other kids who are doing this from home with noise in the background, you want to make sure you are muted so you don't have pets barking, babies crying, other people talking, things like that disrupting the class. You can do that by clicking this microphone icon down here towards the bottom of the screen. If it is red like this with a line through it, then you are muted. If it is on like that, then you are not muted. I have it off right now because I am recording on multiple devices in the same room, so I want to avoid feedback. So make sure you are muted. If it detects you talking, it might prompt you to let you know your mic is off, and then you can click that button to unmute yourself. But in general, unless your teacher says otherwise, you want to make sure you're muted when you start the class. The other thing you want to do is decide whether you want your video on or off. Your teacher might have different policies about this. Some people have privacy concerns and don't want a camera on in their house. Some teachers might mandate it so they can see everybody and know you're paying attention. If you want to turn your camera off, you can do that with the camera button here, and it will just show the Google profile picture that you have selected. I'm going to leave that on for now so you can see me. But you might want to turn it off for a couple other reasons. You could also leave it on for everybody else to see, but hide the video for yourself by minimizing your own video here or removing this tile. So I can go ahead and minimize myself. My camera is still on, so other people can see me, but I cannot see myself. There was some research that came out during the pandemic about Zoom fatigue, even though we're talking about Google Meet here, or this idea that sitting in online meetings all day is somehow physically and mentally exhausting, even though you're just sitting in front of a computer. And part of it is linked to the idea that you're basically staring into a mirror all day. Imagine if somebody followed you around in real life with a mirror so you could see your own face all day, making you hyper aware of your own appearance. Apparently, this is mentally exhausting and can contribute to fatigue. So it's a good idea to maybe turn yourself off so you can't see yourself, because again, think of a real life conversation. Other people can see you, but you're not looking into a mirror all the time. If you do need to re-maximize yourself then so you can see, you go back up here and click on this expand button, and that will bring your video back. But again, you might want to strongly consider turning off your own video. So if you have a question for your teacher, how do you get their attention? How do you ask the question? Now, the policy might vary depending on your teacher and the size of the class. For example, for a very small class, it might be okay to just go ahead and unmute yourself and ask the question. And oops, looks like Darth Vader's battery died there because he's over on my phone. So he's going to miss the rest of the meeting. Anyway, you might be able to just unmute yourself and ask the question, but in a real class, you probably wouldn't just blurt your question out. You would probably raise your hand. And for a teacher who's teaching online with a grid of thumbnails of students, some of whom may or may not have their cameras on, it can be kind of difficult to see somebody physically raising their hand on camera, so that is where the raise hand button comes in here. You can click that button and it will give a little hand waving icon next to your name, and your teacher will get a notification that you have raised your hand so they know you have a question. So again, if there's a lot of students, the teacher can't see you physically raising your hand, they may ask you to use this button as well. You can click the button again to lower your hand. The other option, and again, this will depend on your class, is that you might be able to ask a question over here in the chat. So you can click on that chat icon to open the chat window, type your question in here. And again, this will depend on the teacher. For very large classes, I teach a large class at Cornell with 150 students. In classes that size, this chat can just get filled up with messages way faster than the teacher can respond to them. For a smaller class, the teacher might ask you to just ask questions in the chat instead of using the raise hand feature, and then they'll pause and address the questions or something like that. But again, you should check with your teacher as to whether or not they want you to use the chat. Okay, so we've covered a lot of things like controlling your microphone and camera and some basic etiquette around asking questions. One more thing you might want to do is pin your teacher so they are larger than everybody else on your screen. By default, Google Meet goes to this sort of grid view where everybody is the same size, but let's say Pete the cat is the teacher here. I might want to pin him so he is bigger than everybody else. You can do that by moving your mouse over that person's thumbnail and clicking on this little thumbtack icon. That will make them larger on your screen and make everybody else a little smaller over on the right. Now, you notice this is a pretty small meeting, so Cookie Monster and I are still pretty big. If there were lots and lots of students, they would all appear smaller over here. Now, if you only want to see the teacher, or if you're a parent and you want to make sure your student can only see the teacher because they're getting distracted by their friends making faces at each other over here, then you want to switch to something called Spotlight View. So to do that, you go down here to this little More Options 3-dot menu, select Change Layout, and by default, I had actually changed it before, but Google Meet is going to be in auto mode where it automatically selects what it thinks is the best view. If you want to see just one person taking up the entire screen, you want to go to Spotlight View. And you see, since I had previously pinned Pete the cat, now he takes up the whole screen and I can't see Cookie Monster at all. So if you want to get rid of the other students, that's the way to go. And again, remember, if you also want to get rid of your own video, you can go ahead and minimize that, and now I can only see the teacher. So if you're a student and you are really trying to pay attention, or again, if you are a parent sort of babysitting a younger child doing this and you don't want them making faces at the other student, then go ahead and go into Spotlight View and make sure you have the teacher pinned. If you accidentally enter Spotlight View before you pin the teacher, then you can go down here and click on this Show Everyone button. This will give you a list of participants over on the right, where again you can access that thumbtack icon to pin somebody. Now, of course, you might not always only want to see the teacher. Maybe it's a smaller discussion-based class or other students are giving presentations. So if you want to get out of this Spotlight View, you can go back down there to the More Options menu, go to Change Layout, and then select whether you want to go back to Auto or to Tiled so you can see everybody. In this case, I still have Pete the cat pinned, so he is still taking up more space on the screen there. If I want to go back to Tiled where everybody is the same size, I need to mouse over and then unpin Pete the cat, and now I get everybody in the same view. If I wanted to show myself again, I could go in here and expand, and now I have all three videos. That is it for now. Hopefully that is a quick and useful introduction to Google Meet if you have somehow gotten this far into the pandemic without needing to really learn to use it that well. Again, if you haven't seen them yet, I have literally dozens of tutorials about using Zoom, and I will be expanding my catalog of Google Meet videos, primarily because my daughter's school had to go online in December due to the Omicron variant of COVID-19. So I will be adding more specific videos about Google Meet in the future on things like how to share your screen, how to draw, and how to use some of the other more detailed features that are built in. If you have a question or a comment, I can't guarantee that I will get back to you right away since we also have a 1-year-old who is keeping me very busy and very tired, but please go ahead and leave a comment below the video and I will do my best to get back to you. Thank you.